Captain Lee Tae-min stood on the bridge of the UES Harmony, watching the stars slowly shift as his ship moved through space. Today was the most important day in human history. After years of detecting alien signals from across the galaxy, humanity was finally going to meet another intelligent species face to face. The Harmony was not a warship. It carried no weapons, no armor, and no soldiers. Instead, it held scientists, diplomats, and gifts from Earth. Captain Lee had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. He knew that first impressions would shape humanity's future in the galaxy. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the alien vessel," said Communications Officer Park Ji-woo from her station. She was young but brilliant, chosen for this mission because she could speak 12 human languages and had studied alien communication patterns for years. "Put it on the main screen," Captain Lee replied. He straightened his blue diplomatic uniform and tried to look calm. Behind him, the other crew members gathered to witness history. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at beings unlike anything they had ever seen. The aliens were tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow softly. They had 4 arms and large eyes that never blinked. Their leader stepped forward and spoke in perfect English. "Greetings, beings of the 3rd planet. We are representatives of the Vexhari Empire. We have come to evaluate your species for possible inclusion in the Galactic Federation." Captain Lee smiled and stepped forward. "Welcome. I am Captain Lee Tae-min of the United Earthship Harmony. We are honored to meet you and grateful for this opportunity." The captain extended his hand in the traditional human greeting. The alien leader looked at the outstretched hand and suddenly stepped backward. All the aliens began making harsh clicking sounds. Captain Lee did not know that in Vexhari culture, extending limbs toward strangers was a sign of aggression, like drawing a weapon. We meant no offense," Captain Lee said quickly, lowering his hand. "This is how humans greet each other in friendship." The alien leader's large eyes grew even larger. In their species, making direct eye contact was something only done before a fight. Captain Lee's steady gaze felt like a challenge to battle. Dr. Kim So-ra, the ship's chief medical officer, noticed the aliens seemed distressed. She stepped forward with a gentle smile, hoping to calm the situation. "Perhaps we can start over," she said softly. "We want to be friends." But when Dr. Kim smiled, showing her teeth, the aliens made even more clicking sounds. The Vexhari had evolved from prey animals. To them, baring teeth was a clear threat display. The smile that humans use to show friendship looked like a predator preparing to attack. Security Chief Choi Dong-hyun watched the aliens' behavior carefully. Something was going wrong, but he could not understand what. The humans were being as polite and peaceful as possible, yet the aliens seemed more frightened with each passing moment. "Let me try something," said Park Ji-woo. She had brought a collection of human music and art to share with any aliens they met. She thought that sharing culture would be a good way to build friendship. She activated her portable display and began playing a piece of classical music from Earth. The beautiful sounds filled the communication channel between the 2 ships. To human ears, it was peaceful and moving. But the Vexhari heard something very different. The complex rhythms and emotional rises and falls of human music struck the aliens like a psychological attack. Their highly ordered minds, which preferred simple patterns and predictable structures, could not process the chaotic beauty of human art. The music felt like it was trying to reprogram their thoughts. The alien leader raised all 4 of its arms, in what humans did not know was a gesture of surrender. "Cease this assault immediately," it commanded. "We will not allow you to corrupt our minds with your cognitive weapons." "Weapons?" Captain Lee asked in confusion. "It's just music. We wanted to share our culture with you." But the aliens were already backing away from their communication equipment. The leader spoke rapidly to its companions in their own language, then turned back to face the humans. "Your species is dangerous," the alien declared. "You present yourselves as peaceful, but you attack without warning. You show your weapons openly, stare directly at opponents to intimidate them, and deploy mental warfare disguised as gifts." Park Ji-woo turned off the music display, her hands shaking. "We don't understand. We were trying to be friendly." Doctor Kim Sora stepped forward again, this time being careful not to smile. "Please, there has been a misunderstanding. Humans are naturally peaceful. We came here hoping to learn from you and perhaps become friends." The alien leader studied her for a long moment. When Dr. Kim spoke about peace, her voice carried genuine emotion. She truly believed what she was saying, and that emotion was clear in every word. But to the Vexhari, strong emotions were signs of mental instability. Stable, civilized beings did not let feelings affect their voices. "You claim peace while radiating emotional chaos," the alien said. "Your mental patterns are completely unstable. How can we trust beings who cannot control their own thoughts?" Choi Dong-hyun felt his frustration growing. Everything the humans did seemed to make things worse. He forced himself to remain calm and speak in an even tone. "What can we do to show you that we mean no harm?" The alien leader considered this question while consulting with its companions. Finally, it turned back to the humans. "You will remain in this location and make no attempts to follow us or contact other ships. We must report to the Galactic Federation about your species. They will decide what to do about the threat you represent." "Threat?" Captain Lee repeated. "But we haven't threatened anyone." "Your very existence is a threat," the alien replied. "Beings who can disguise aggression as friendship, who use emotional manipulation as easily as breathing, who deploy cognitive weapons without even realizing they are doing so. Such beings cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy unchecked." The communication ended abruptly. The alien ship turned and accelerated away, leaving the humans alone in space with their confusion and growing worry. Captain Lee sat down heavily in his command chair. "What just happened here?" he asked. Dr. Kim So-ra shook her head. "I think we just learned that what makes us human might make us terrifying to other species." Park Ji-woo was reviewing the communication records, trying to understand where everything went wrong. Every normal human behavior we displayed, they interpreted as aggressive or dangerous, she said. Our handshakes, our eye contact, our smiles, our music, even our emotions. They saw all of it as threatening. Choi Dong-hyun crossed his arms and frowned. "So what are we supposed to do? Stop being human?" "I don't think that's possible," Dr. Kim replied. "And maybe it shouldn't be our goal. Maybe the problem isn't that we're threatening. Maybe the problem is that they're not used to dealing with a species like us." Captain Lee stood up and walked to the main window, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vexhari were reporting to their Galactic Federation about the dangerous humans they had encountered. Soon, all the civilized species in the galaxy would know about Earth and its people. "Set course for home," he ordered quietly. "We need to warn Earth about what's coming." As the Harmony turned toward Earth, none of the crew could have imagined how much their failed first contact would change everything. They had tried to be the best representatives of humanity possible. They had been polite, peaceful, and generous. But those very qualities had marked them as dangerous in the eyes of alien minds that thought very differently from humans. The seeds of a much larger conflict had been planted in that brief meeting. Soon, humanity would discover that in a galaxy full of civilized species who had learned to suppress their emotions, control their creativity, and follow predictable patterns, humans were the ultimate outsiders. Their adaptability would be seen as instability. Their emotional intelligence would be viewed as manipulation. Their creativity would be feared as a form of mental warfare. And their natural desire to connect with others would be interpreted as an attempt to corrupt and control. The Harmony flew home through the darkness carrying news that would change Earth forever. Behind them, the Vexhari ship raced toward the heart of the galaxy, carrying their own message about the strange and dangerous beings they had encountered. Neither species yet understood that they had just set in motion events that would challenge everything the galaxy thought it knew about civilization, peace, and what it truly meant to be intelligent beings living among the stars. The misunderstanding was complete, and its consequences would echo across the galaxy for months to come. 6 months had passed since the Harmony returned to Earth with news of the failed first contact. The world had changed completely in that time. Every government on Earth was working together for the first time in human history, preparing for whatever might come from the stars. Yoon Hai-jin sat in her office at the Global Defense Council, reading through legal documents that would have been impossible to imagine just a year ago. She was Earth's best international lawyer, chosen to represent humanity in matters no human legal system had ever prepared for. The message had arrived 3 days ago through the same communication channels the Vexhari had used. It came from something called the Galactic Court of Justice, and it was written in perfect English, Chinese, Spanish, Arabic, and dozens of other human languages. The species known as humans, originating from the third planet of the Sol system, are hereby formally charged with crimes against galactic civilization. Yoon read aloud to her assistant. The charges include cognitive assault, mimetic warfare, and biological hazard classification. Her assistant, a young man named Kim Woo-jin, looked up from his computer screen. What do those charges even mean? That's what we need to find out, Yoon replied. She picked up another document. Dr. Jang Min-ho is coming here today. He's our best xenobiologist, and he's been studying every piece of information we have about alien species. Dr. Jang arrived an hour later, carrying a thick folder full of research papers and analysis reports. He was a quiet man who had spent his career studying the possibility of alien life. Now that aliens were real, he had become one of the most important people on Earth. The charges are very serious, Dr. Jang began without any greeting. I've been studying Galactic Federation law using the legal documents they sent us. Cognitive assault means attacking someone's mind. Mimetic warfare means using ideas as weapons. And biological hazard means being dangerous just by existing. Yoon frowned. But humans haven't attacked anyone. The crew of the Harmony was completely peaceful. That's what makes this so complicated, Dr. Jang replied. He opened his folder and pulled out several papers. According to these documents, most alien species in the galaxy think very differently from humans. They value order, predictability, and emotional control above everything else. Kim Woo-jin leaned forward. What's wrong with emotions? Dr. Jang pointed to a section of text. For most galactic species, strong emotions are seen as a form of mental illness. They think that civilized beings should be calm and logical at all times. When humans show feelings, aliens think we're either sick or trying to manipulate them. Yoon stood up and walked to the window. Outside, she could see people going about their daily lives, laughing, crying, arguing, and showing all the emotions that made them human. So they're charging us with crimes because we feel things? It's worse than that, Dr. Jong said. The prosecution is being led by something called the Silthek Consortium. They're a species made of living crystal, and they don't have emotions at all. To them, human emotional expressions look like sophisticated torture techniques. The door to the office opened, and Dr. Kim So-ra walked in. She had returned from the Harmony mission as a hero, but now she looked tired and worried. "I came as soon as I got your message," she said to Yoon. "Have you learned anything new about the charges?" Dr. Jang handed her a copy of his research. "The aliens think that human laughter and crying are forms of psychological warfare. They believe we use these sounds to confuse and control other beings." Dr. Kim sat down heavily. "That's ridiculous. Laughter is how we show joy. Crying is how we express sadness or relief. They're just natural responses." "Natural for us," Dr. Jang corrected. "But most alien species don't have anything like human emotional expressions. When they hear us laugh or cry, they don't understand what's happening. It frightens them." Yoon turned back from the window. "What about the other charges? Mimetic warfare?" "That's about human culture," Dr. Jang explained. "Our art, music, literature, and ideas. The aliens think these things are designed to change how other beings think. They see human creativity as a form of mental attack." Kim Woo-jin shook his head. "But art is supposed to make people think and feel. That's the whole point." "Exactly," Dr. Jang said. "And that's why they think it's dangerous. Most alien species create art that reinforces existing ideas and keeps everyone thinking the same way. Human art challenges people to see things differently. To the aliens, that looks like brainwashing." Dr. Kim looked through the legal documents. "What about the biological hazard charge?" Dr. Jang's expression became even more serious. "That's the worst one. They're saying that humans are dangerous because of how quickly we learn and adapt. Most alien species stay the same for thousands of years. They think humans change too fast, and that will disrupt the stability of galactic civilization." Yoon sat back down at her desk. "So they want to judge us for being human, for feeling emotions, creating art, and learning new things." "The trial is set to begin in 3 months," Dr. Jang said. "It will be held on a neutral space station near the center of the galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of alien species will attend." Dr. Kim looked up from the documents. "What happens if we're found guilty?" Dr. Jang was quiet for a long moment. "The penalties could range from permanent quarantine of Earth to complete elimination of our species." The room fell silent. Outside, the sounds of human life continued. Cars driving, people talking, children playing. All of it might disappear if the Galactic Court decided that humanity was too dangerous to exist. "There's something else," Dr. Jang said quietly. "I've been monitoring alien communications, and some species aren't waiting for the trial to end. They're building military fleets and moving them toward human space." Yoon looked up sharply. "What kind of military fleets?" "Big ones," Dr. Jang replied. "The Keth Alliance has assembled over 200 warships. The Mordak Republic is mobilizing. Their entire battle fleet, They're calling it preemptive defense against the human threat. Dr. Kim stood up and began pacing. This is insane. We haven't attacked anyone. We haven't even left our own solar system except for that one diplomatic mission. Fear doesn't always make sense, Dr. Jang said. The aliens are terrified of what humans might become. They look at our emotional flexibility, our creative thinking, and our ability to adapt, and they see a species that could eventually dominate the galaxy. Yoon pulled out a fresh legal pad and began writing notes. We need to build our defense carefully. We have to show them that human traits aren't weapons. They're gifts. Our emotions help us understand each other. Our creativity solves problems. Our adaptability helps us survive and grow. Kim Woo-jin looked at the communication device on the desk. What if they don't want to listen? What if they've already decided we're guilty? Dr. Jang closed his folder. Then we'll have to prove them wrong. The trial isn't just about justice, it's about survival. If we can't convince the galaxy that humans deserve to exist, then we'll have to find another way to protect ourselves. Doctor. Kim stopped pacing and looked at her colleagues. The crew of the Harmony did everything right. We were peaceful, respectful, and generous. But somehow that made us look dangerous. Maybe the problem isn't how we acted. Maybe the problem is that the galaxy isn't ready for a species like us. Yoon nodded slowly. That might be true. But ready or not, we're here now. And we're not going to apologize for being human. Over the next several days, reports continued to arrive from deep space monitoring stations. More alien fleets were moving. More species were joining the prosecution, and more charges were being added to the case against humanity. But something interesting was also happening. A few alien species were asking questions about the charges. Some were requesting more information about human culture and behavior. A small number were even suggesting that the trial might be unfair. Dr. Jang brought this news to Yoon's office a week later. It's not many, he said, but there are aliens who think the charges against us are wrong. They want to understand humans better before making any judgments. Yoon smiled for the first time in days. Then we have allies. Maybe not many, but it's a start. As Earth prepared for the most important trial in human history, people around the world continued to be themselves. They laughed, they cried, they created art, they learned new things, and they adapted to their changing world. All the things that made them human, all the things that the galaxy found so threatening. The irony was not lost on anyone. Humanity was being put on trial for the very qualities that had made them strong enough to reach for the stars in the first place. The Galactic Court of Justice was unlike anything humans had ever seen. The space station was enormous, built in the shape of a perfect sphere, with thousands of docking ports for ships from every corner of the galaxy. Inside, the main courtroom could hold representatives from over 300 different species. Yoon Hae-jin stood at the defendant's table, looking up at the massive chamber filled with alien beings. Some looked like the Vexhari she had studied, tall and thin with glowing skin. Others were completely different, floating gas clouds, walking crystals, creatures made of what looked like living metal. All of them were watching the humans with expressions that ranged from curiosity to fear to outright hostility. Dr. Jang Min-ho sat beside her, along with Captain Lee Tae-min and Dr. Kim So-ra from the Harmony mission. They were the only humans, in a room full of beings who thought humanity was a threat to galactic civilization. The prosecutor was a Siltek, one of the crystalline beings leading the case against humanity. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, its body made of sharp, glowing crystal that changed colors as it spoke. When it moved, it made musical sounds like wind chimes. "Honorable judges of the Galactic Court," the Siltec prosecutor began, its voice echoing strangely in the vast chamber. "Today we present evidence that the species known as humans represents the greatest threat our galaxy has ever faced." The prosecutor activated a holographic display showing images from the first contact meeting. "Observe how the human leader extends a limb toward our Vexhari representatives. This is clearly an aggressive gesture, yet the human claims it is a greeting of peace." Yoon stood up to object. "Your Honor, in human culture, a handshake is a sign of friendship and respect. It shows that we come in peace." The lead judge, a being that looked like a walking tree with golden leaves, rustled its branches. "The defendant will remain silent unless asked to speak directly." The prosecutor continued its presentation. "Notice how the humans stare directly at our representatives, a behavior designed to intimidate and establish dominance. Then observe the female human's threat display." The hologram showed Dr. Kim Sora smiling. Murmurs of fear rippled through the courtroom. Many of the alien species had never seen a human smile before, and to them it looked terrifying. "This baring of teeth is a clear warning that the human is prepared to attack," the prosecutor explained. "Yet they claim this aggressive display is another sign of friendship." Dr. Jiang leaned over to whisper to Yoon. "They're making us sound like monsters." The prosecutor moved to its next piece of evidence. "Most disturbing of all is the humans' use of mimetic warfare." The hologram now showed Park Ji-woo playing human music during the first contact meeting. The humans deployed what they call music, a complex pattern of sounds designed to disrupt normal thought processes. Our Vexhari representatives reported immediate psychological distress when exposed to this cognitive weapon. The courtroom filled with concerned clicking, buzzing, and other alien sounds of worry. Yoon felt her heart sinking. Everything the prosecutor said was technically true, but it completely ignored the human perspective. Furthermore, the prosecutor continued, "Humans display dangerous emotional instability. They laugh without reason, cry without physical injury, and show anger without immediate threat. These extreme emotional fluctuations indicate severe mental disorders that could spread to other species through contact." More worried sounds from the gallery. Several alien delegates began backing away from the human section of the courtroom. The prosecutor's final argument was the most damaging. Humans adapt too quickly. In just a few hundred years, they went from primitive tool use to space travel. This rate of change is unprecedented and dangerous. If allowed to spread through the galaxy, humans will disrupt the careful balance that has maintained peace for millennia. When the prosecutor finished, the courtroom was filled with fearful whispers. Yoon knew that if she couldn't change their minds, humanity would be found guilty before she even began her defense. "Your Honor," Yoon said, standing carefully. "May I present our defense?" The tree judge rustled its leaves. "You may proceed." Yoon activated her own holographic display. Instead of showing the first contact meeting, she showed images of human life on Earth. Children playing, families eating together, people helping each other during disasters. "What the prosecution calls aggression, we call connection," Yoon began. "Humans extend their hands not to threaten, but to touch. Physical contact is how we show trust and friendship. When we look directly at others, we're not trying to intimidate them. We're showing them that we see them as equals worth our full attention. She changed the display to show humans from different cultures greeting each other. Our emotional expressions are not signs of mental illness. They are how we communicate feelings that words cannot express. When we smile, we invite others to share our joy. When we cry, we ask for comfort and support. Dr. Jiang stood up beside her. Human adaptability isn't a threat to galactic stability. It's a gift that could benefit everyone. We don't change to destroy what exists. We change to solve problems and improve life for all. But before Yoon could continue her defense, alarms began ringing throughout the space station. Emergency lights flashed, and alien security forces rushed into the courtroom. A communications officer ran up to the judge's platform. "Your Honor, we're receiving reports of attacks on human colonies. Multiple alien fleets have opened fire on civilian targets." The courtroom erupted in chaos. Some aliens seemed shocked by the news, while others appeared satisfied that action was finally being taken against the human threat. Captain Lee Tae-min jumped to his feet. "What colonies? How many people?" The communications officer checked his device. "New Sol colony in the Alpha Centauri system is under attack by Keth Alliance forces. New Lagos colony near Proxima Centauri is being bombarded by Mordak Republic ships. Casualties are already in the thousands." Dr. Kim Sora grabbed Yoon's arm. "They're not waiting for the trial to end. They're killing innocent people right now." The lead judge tried to restore order by banging a large crystal gavel. "This court will not be disrupted by outside events. The trial will continue." But Yoon was no longer thinking about legal arguments. She was thinking about the families being murdered while she stood in this courtroom arguing about handshakes and smiles. "Your Honor," she said loudly, her voice carrying clearly through the chaos, "how can you continue this trial while innocent humans are being slaughtered? If we're so dangerous, why do your allies need entire battle fleets to attack unarmed colonies?" The prosecutor's crystal body flashed angry red. "The preemptive defense actions are necessary to prevent human expansion." "Preemptive defense?" Yoon repeated. "You mean murder. You're killing people who have never hurt anyone, who were living peacefully on their own worlds." More reports were coming in. The human colonies had very few defenses, built for research and farming, not war. The alien fleets were destroying everything they found. But then something unexpected happened. Commander Park Soo-jin's voice came through the communication system from New Sol Colony. "This is Commander Park Soo-jin of New Sol Colony Defense Force. We are not surrendering. We are not running away. We are protecting our families and our homes." The alien attackers had expected the humans to either flee or die quickly. Instead, they found a species that fought back with creativity and determination they had never encountered before. Engineer Kim Jae-sung had spent the months since the first contact building new defensive systems. He combined human engineering with alien mathematics taken from the legal documents. The result was shield technology that the attacking fleets couldn't understand or overcome. "The Keth Alliance fleet is retreating from New Sol," reported the communications officer in shock. "They say the humans are using impossible defensive measures." In the courtroom, the alien delegates began, talking among themselves in their various languages. This was not what they had expected. Humans were supposed to be easy targets, not dangerous opponents. The prosecutor tried to regain control. "This proves our point. Humans are dangerous. They create new weapons and tactics without warning." But Yoon saw an opportunity. "We create solutions," she corrected. "When attacked, we defend. When threatened, we adapt. When others try to destroy us, we find ways to survive. These aren't the actions of aggressors. These are the actions of a species fighting for its right to exist." Dr. Jang added his voice. The colonies being attacked are research stations and farming communities. The people there were studying alien plants and trying to grow food. They weren't building weapons or planning invasions. More reports came in. The human colonies were not only surviving the attacks, they were helping alien civilians caught in the crossfire. Human medical teams were treating wounded aliens. Human. Engineers were repairing damaged alien ships. Human diplomats were trying to negotiate ceasefires. The contradiction was becoming impossible to ignore. If humans were the dangerous aggressors the prosecution claimed, why were they helping their attackers? If they were the threat to galactic civilization, why were alien fleets needed to attack peaceful farming colonies? Yoon looked around the courtroom at the hundreds of alien faces. Some still looked afraid or hostile, but others were beginning to show doubt. The gap between what they had been told about humans and what they were seeing was becoming too large to ignore. Your Honor, Yoon said quietly, I think the evidence speaks for itself. We are not the monsters you think we are. 3 weeks had passed since the attacks on human colonies began, and the war was not going as the alien fleets had expected. Reports kept arriving at the galactic court that confused and worried the alien delegates. The humans were not behaving like any enemy they had ever fought before. Song Min-ji stood in the refugee camp on Kepler Station, a neutral space station that had become home to thousands of displaced beings from the war zones. She was not a soldier or a diplomat. Before the war started, she had been a social coordinator for Earth's first colony ships, helping people adjust to life in space. Now she found herself doing something no one had planned for, taking care of alien refugees. The camp was filled with beings from dozens of different species who had been caught in the fighting between human colonies and alien attack fleets. Most of them had never seen a human before, and they were terrified when Song Min-ji and her team arrived to help. Please don't hurt us, whispered a small Vexhari child, hiding behind its parents' legs. The child's blue skin was pale with fear, and its large eyes were filled with tears. Song Min-ji knelt down slowly, making herself smaller and less threatening. She had learned from Dr. Jang's research that many alien species were frightened by humans standing at full height. I'm not going to hurt you, she said softly. I'm here to help. Are you hungry? Do you need medicine? The child's parent, an adult Vexhari, stepped protectively in front of its offspring. You are human. Humans are dangerous. We have been told this by our leaders. I know, Song Min-ji replied, but look around you. Do you see any humans hurting anyone here? The Vexhari looked around the refugee camp. Everywhere, human volunteers were working alongside aliens to provide food, medical care, and shelter. Dr. Kim So-ra was treating wounded aliens with the same care she would give to human patients. Engineer Kim Jae-sung was fixing broken alien equipment and teaching alien engineers how to repair their own ships. I do not understand, the Vexhari said. If humans are dangerous, why do you help us? Because you need help, Song Min-ji answered simply. That's what people do when others are in trouble. Dr. Kim So-ra was having similar conversations in the medical section of the refugee camp. She had spent weeks developing new medical techniques that could work on different alien physiologies. Her human ability to adapt and learn quickly, which the galaxy saw as dangerous, was now saving lives. Your heart rate is too fast, she told a wounded Keth Alliance soldier. The creature looked like a giant insect with metallic armor built into its body. It had been injured when its own fleet accidentally fired on a civilian transport while attacking a human colony. You are human, The soldier clicked in its strange language. A translation device converted its words to English. Humans are the enemy. Why do you heal me? Dr. Kim continued treating the soldier's wounds. Because you're hurt and I'm a doctor. It doesn't matter what species you are. The soldier's large compound eyes studied her face. I was told humans show false kindness to trick others. But you could let me die, and no one would blame you. My people are trying to kill your people. That's true, Dr. Kim said, as she finished bandaging the soldier's injured limb. But you're not fighting right now. Right now, you're just someone who needs medical help. Meanwhile, back on the New Seoul colony, Commander Park Soo-jin was dealing with a different kind of problem. Her defense forces had successfully driven off 3 alien attack fleets, but now she had dozens of damaged alien ships drifting in space around the colony. The ships contained hundreds of alien crew members who were injured, stranded, or both. Park Soo-jin's officers wanted to leave them there or take them prisoner, but she had a different idea. We're going to rescue them, she announced at the morning briefing. Her second-in-command, Lieutenant Choi Hyun-woo, looked confused. Commander, these are enemy soldiers. They were trying to destroy our colony an hour ago. And now they're people in trouble, Park Soo-jin replied. We're not going to let them die in space just because their leaders made bad decisions. The rescue operation was unlike anything in galactic military history. Human ships approached the damaged alien vessels with medical supplies and repair equipment instead of weapons. They offered help instead of demanding surrender. Many of the alien crews were so surprised that they didn't know how to respond. Some refused help at first, thinking it was a trap. Others accepted assistance but remained suspicious of human motives. But gradually, something began to change. Alien soldiers who had been taught that humans were monsters found themselves being treated with kindness and respect by the very people they had been trying to kill. Back at the Galactic Court, these stories were reaching the alien delegates through news reports and military communications. The contradictions were becoming impossible to ignore. Young communications specialist Lee Da-eun had been working day and night at the court station, monitoring alien communication channels. What she discovered changed everything. I found something important, she told Yoon Hae-jin during a break in the trial. Most of the alien species aren't talking to each other directly. They're all communicating through intermediary species, who translate for them. Yoon looked up from her legal papers. What does that mean? It means there's been a lot of miscommunication, Lee Da-eun explained. Many species never actually wanted this war. They were told that other species supported it, but the translators were changing the messages. Lee Da-eun had discovered that she could communicate directly with many alien species by using human empathy and pattern recognition instead of relying on formal translation protocols. Her breakthrough had revealed that the galaxy was full of misunderstandings and false information. The Zephyrian cloud mines never agreed to support the prosecution, she continued. They were told that the crystalline Siltec species were speaking for them, but the Siltec were actually speaking for themselves. This was exactly the kind of discovery that Dr. Jang had hoped for. When Lee Da-eun brought her findings to him, he immediately saw the implications. Human emotional intelligence is solving a problem that has existed in galactic politics for thousands of years, he explained to Yoon. Most alien species can only communicate with others that think like them. Humans can adapt our communication style to work with anyone. The evidence was mounting. In the refugee camps, humans were successfully helping species that had never been able to work together before. In the battle zones, Human medical teams were treating patients that alien doctors couldn't help because they didn't understand different physiologies. The prosecution's case was falling apart piece by piece. Every example they gave of human cognitive assault was actually advanced emotional intelligence. Every instance of mimetic warfare was really cultural exchange that helped different species understand each other better. The Siltec prosecutor was becoming increasingly desperate. These actions prove nothing, it declared during the next court session. Humans are simply using more sophisticated manipulation techniques. But Yoon was ready with her response. Your Honor, if humans were really trying to manipulate these alien refugees and prisoners, wouldn't we expect them to become loyal to humanity? Instead, many of them are returning to their home worlds and telling their people what they experienced. She activated a holographic display showing testimonies from aliens who had been helped by humans. A Keth Alliance soldier spoke about Dr. Kim So-ra saving his life. A Vex Hari family described how Song Min-ji had protected their children in the refugee camp. A Mordak Republic engineer explained how Kim Jae-sung had taught him new techniques that he was now using to help his own people. If this is manipulation, Yoon continued, it's the strangest kind I've ever seen. Humans help their enemies, heal those who attack them, and share their knowledge freely. They ask for nothing in return except the chance to coexist peacefully. Dr. Jang stood up to add his scientific perspective. The prosecution claims that human adaptability is dangerous because it's unprecedented. But unprecedented doesn't mean dangerous. It means new. And new solutions are exactly what the galaxy needs to solve old problems. The courtroom was quieter now. Many of the alien delegates were whispering among themselves, and their whispers sounded less fearful and more curious than before. Several species had begun requesting direct meetings with human representatives. They wanted to learn more about human emotional intelligence and communication techniques. They were starting to see that what they had feared as weapons might actually be tools for building better relationships between different species. The transformation was not complete, and many aliens still feared humanity, but doubt had been planted in minds that had once been certain of human guilt. The galaxy was beginning to question whether the real threat was humanity's nature or their own inability to understand it. As the trial continued, one thing became clear to everyone watching. Humans were not the monsters they had been portrayed as. They were something the galaxy had never encountered before. A species that became stronger by helping others become stronger too. The war had been going on for 2 months now, and the alien attack fleets were becoming more confused and frustrated every day. Commander Park Soo-jin stood in the command center of New Seoul Colony, looking at reports that would have been impossible to believe when the fighting first started. The Mordak Republic fleet is requesting permission to land medical personnel on our colony, reported Lieutenant Choi Hyun-woo, still sounding surprised even though similar requests had been arriving all week. Why do they want to land medical teams? Park Soo-jin asked. Their soldiers are getting sick, and they can't figure out why. They want to use our medical facilities and learn from Dr. Kim So-ra's treatment methods. Park Soo-jin almost smiled. The alien fleets had come to destroy human colonies, but instead they were discovering that humans had developed better medical technology, better engineering solutions, and better ways of solving problems than anyone else in the galaxy. Tell them yes, she said. But they have to promise not to attack any civilian targets while their medical teams are here. Commander, are you sure about this? They're still technically our enemies. Park Soo-jin looked out the window at the colony below. Human and alien children were playing together in the parks that had been built since the refugee crisis began. Alien engineers were working alongside human builders to construct new facilities. Former enemy soldiers were teaching human security forces about alien technology while learning human tactical methods in return. "I don't think they're really our enemies anymore," she said. "I think they're just confused about what's happening." The confusion was spreading throughout the alien fleets. Military commanders who had expected quick victories against helpless human colonies instead found themselves dealing with opponents who refused to follow any known rules of warfare. When attacked, humans didn't just defend themselves, they tried to minimize casualties on both sides. When they captured enemy soldiers, they didn't lock them in prison camps. They invited them to help solve mutual problems. When enemy ships were damaged, humans didn't finish them off. They sent repair crews to help fix them. Security Chief Choi Dong-hun had been developing these unconventional tactics since the war began. He had studied every piece of information about alien military thinking that Dr. Jong could provide, and he had discovered something important. Most alien species fight wars the same way they've been fighting them for thousands of years, he explained to his officers during a strategy meeting. They have very rigid rules about what enemies do to each other. But humans don't think about war the same way. One of his lieutenants, Park Min-seo, raised her hand. "What do you mean, sir?" "Aliens see war as a contest between opposing forces, where one side wins and the other side loses," Choi Dong-hyun continued. "But humans see war as a problem that needs to be solved. We don't just want to win, we want to end the fighting and find a better way for everyone to live together." This different approach to conflict was having effects that nobody had predicted. Engineer Kim Jae-sung was at the center of many of these changes. Kim Jae-sung had been working day and night to develop new technologies that could help both humans and aliens. Instead of building bigger weapons, he was creating tools that made cooperation easier and more beneficial than fighting. His latest invention was a translation and communication system that could help different alien species understand each other better than they ever had before. It didn't just translate words, it helped translate emotions, intentions, and cultural meanings. "The problem isn't that different species can't talk to each other," he explained to a group of alien engineers who had come to learn about his work. "The problem is that they've been talking past each other for so long that they've forgotten how to really listen." The alien engineers were amazed by his solutions. They had been working on similar problems for centuries without success. But Kim Jae-sung had solved them in just a few weeks by combining human creativity with alien scientific knowledge. Word of these innovations was spreading throughout the galaxy, reaching even the aliens who weren't directly involved in the fighting. Many species were beginning to realize that humans weren't just different. They were offering solutions to problems that had been unsolvable for generations. Back at the Galactic Court, Yoon Hae-jin was preparing for what she hoped would be her final argument. The evidence was now overwhelming that humans posed no threat to galactic civilization. In fact, the opposite was true. Humans were helping to solve problems that had been holding back galactic progress for millennia. "Your Honor," she said when the court session resumed, "I want to present one final piece of evidence about what humans really are." She activated a holographic display that showed scenes from across human space. Alien medical students were learning new healing techniques from human doctors. Alien engineers were working with human inventors to create technologies that neither species could have developed alone. Alien diplomats were using human communication methods to resolve conflicts between their own species that had lasted for centuries. The prosecution claimed that humans use cognitive assault, mimetic warfare, and biological hazard to threaten other species. Yoon continued. But the evidence shows something completely different. Humans use empathy, creativity, and adaptability to help other species become better versions of themselves. Dr. Jang stood up beside her. Human emotional intelligence isn't a weapon, it's a bridge. It allows us to understand what other species need and want, even when they can't express it clearly themselves. Human creativity isn't dangerous. It's productive. It finds new solutions to old problems. Human adaptability isn't a threat. It's a gift. It allows us to learn from everyone we meet and share that knowledge with everyone who needs it. The courtroom was quieter than it had ever been. Many of the alien delegates were no longer looking at the humans with fear or suspicion. Instead, they were looking at them with something that might have been hope. The Siltec prosecutor made one last attempt to maintain the case against humanity. These actions could be an elaborate deception. Humans might be pretending to be helpful while secretly planning to take over the galaxy. But before Yoon could respond, something unprecedented happened. Several alien delegates stood up to speak in defense of humanity. A representative of the Vex-Hari Empire stepped forward. "I have spoken with my people who were helped by humans during the refugee crisis. They report that humans asked for nothing in return for their assistance. No political concessions, no territorial rights, no trade advantages. They helped simply because help was needed." A delegate from the Keth Alliance added, "Our military analysts have studied human tactical methods. If humans wanted to conquer the galaxy, they have had many opportunities to do so during this conflict. Instead, they have consistently chosen to minimize casualties and seek peaceful solutions." More aliens began to speak. Species after species reported that their interactions with humans had been positive, educational, and beneficial. The prosecution's case was not just failing, it was being actively contradicted by the very species they claimed to represent. The lead judge, the tree-like being with golden leaves, rustled thoughtfully. "This court has heard extensive testimony about human behavior during the current conflict. The pattern is clear. When attacked, humans defend themselves while seeking to minimize harm to all parties. When presented with problems, they develop solutions that benefit multiple species. When offered opportunities for conquest or exploitation, they instead choose cooperation and mutual assistance." The judge's leaves turned a brighter gold as it continued. "The court finds that the charges against humanity are not supported by the evidence. Humans do not engage in cognitive assault. They engage in emotional communication. They do not practice mimetic warfare. They share cultural knowledge. They are not a biological hazard. They are a biological asset that enhances the capabilities of other species through cooperation." The courtroom erupted in a mixture of sounds, some celebrating, some protesting, but most simply expressing amazement at what they had witnessed. But the judge was not finished. However, this court recognizes that the misunderstanding between humans and other galactic species has caused real harm. The solution is not to separate humans from galactic civilization, but to integrate them more fully into it. Yoon felt her heart racing as she realized what the judge was about to announce. This court hereby establishes a new framework for interspecies relations, with humans serving as mediators and facilitators for cross-species cooperation. The very traits that were once feared will now be used to build a stronger, more unified galactic community. As the judge's words echoed through the courtroom, Yoon realized that they had achieved something greater than just proving humanity's innocence. They had shown the galaxy that being different wasn't something to fear. It was something to celebrate and learn from. 1 year had passed since the Galactic Court declared humanity innocent of all charges. The galaxy had changed more in that single year than it had in the previous 1,000 years combined. Captain Lee Tae-min stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, the new headquarters for interspecies cooperation that had been built in orbit around Earth. Through the massive windows, he could see ships from hundreds of different worlds coming and going in peaceful traffic that would have been impossible to imagine just 2 years ago. "It's hard to believe this is the same galaxy that wanted to put us on trial," said Dr. Kim So-ra, joining him at the window. She now wore the uniform of the Galactic Medical Exchange, a new organization that helped share medical knowledge between all species. "Sometimes I think the trial was the best thing that ever happened to us," Lee Tae-min replied. "It forced everyone to really look at what humans are instead of just being afraid of what we might be." The transformation had not happened overnight. After the court's ruling, it had taken months of careful work to implement the new framework for galactic cooperation, but the results had exceeded everyone's expectations. Song Min-ji walked through the corridors of Unity Station, checking on the progress of various integration projects. As the new director of interspecies relations, she was responsible for helping different alien cultures learn to work together using human mediation techniques. Today, she was visiting the Vex-Hari-Keth Cooperation Project. Just a year ago, these two species had barely been able to communicate with each other. Now they were working together to solve environmental problems that neither could handle alone. "The atmospheric processors are working perfectly," reported Vex-Hari engineer Sylvan, her blue skin glowing with excitement. "The Keth mathematical models combined with our energy manipulation techniques have created something neither of our species could have achieved independently." Beside her, Keth Alliance researcher Click Tar clicked his mandibles in agreement. "Human emotional intelligence protocols helped us understand each other's thinking patterns. We no longer see our differences as obstacles. We see them as complementary strengths." Song Min-ji smiled as she watched the two aliens working together. This scene was being repeated throughout the galaxy as species that had been isolated for millennia began to discover the benefits of cooperation. Dr. Jang Min-ho had been appointed as the head of the new Xenobiological Research Institute, where scientists from every known species worked together to advance the understanding of life throughout the galaxy. His office was filled with beings that looked like living crystals, floating gas clouds, walking plants, and dozens of other forms of life that had once seemed impossible. "The breakthrough came when we stopped trying to make everyone think the same way," he explained to a group of visiting researchers. "Instead, we learned to use our different ways of thinking as tools for solving different kinds of problems." His latest project involved mapping the genetic patterns of all known intelligent species to understand how life had evolved differently throughout the galaxy. The work required the mathematical precision of crystalline species, the pattern recognition of gaseous beings, the biological intuition of carbon-based life forms, and the adaptive creativity that seemed to be uniquely human. "Humans don't just adapt to new situations," observed Dr. Zefthara, a researcher whose species had evolved from collective organisms. "They help other species adapt as well. This ability to facilitate change in others appears to be unprecedented in galactic history." Engineer Kim Jae-sung had become something of a legend throughout the galaxy. His workshop on Unity Station was constantly visited by alien engineers who wanted to learn his methods for combining different technological approaches into hybrid solutions. "The secret isn't in the technology itself," he told a group of apprentices. from 12 different species. The secret is in understanding what each species does best and finding ways to combine those strengths. His latest creation was a universal construction system that could adapt to the needs and capabilities of any species. Beings with 4 arms could use it differently than beings with tentacles or those who manipulated matter with their minds. Yet all of them could work together on the same projects. Before humans arrived, we each built things the way our species had always built them, said Master Builder Gronthek of the stone-based Lithic Confederation. Now we build things the way they need to be built, using the best methods from everyone. Lee. Dayan had revolutionized galactic communications beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Her new translation protocols didn't just convert words from one language to another, they helped different species understand each other's emotional and cultural contexts. The old translation systems only handled surface meaning, she explained, to a conference of galactic diplomats. But real communication happens at much deeper levels. When a Vex Hari says they are satisfied with a proposal, they mean something completely different than when a Keth says the same thing. Her work had prevented dozens of potential conflicts and had helped resolve disputes that had been ongoing for centuries. More importantly, it had enabled species to form friendships and partnerships that had never been possible before. Commander Park Sujin now served as the head of galactic peacekeeping operations, but her job was very different from traditional military command. Instead of preparing for wars, she worked to prevent them through rapid response humanitarian aid and conflict mediation. Most conflicts happen because different species don't understand each other's needs and motivations, she explained to her multinational staff. When we can address those underlying issues quickly, the conflicts never escalate to violence. Her peacekeeping forces included volunteers from over 50 different species, all trained in human-developed techniques for de-escalation and mutual aid. They had successfully prevented 3 potential wars and had helped negotiate peaceful solutions to territorial disputes that had seemed unsolvable. Yoon Hai-jin had been appointed as the first human ambassador to the Galactic Federation, but her role had expanded far beyond traditional diplomacy. She now worked with the reformed Galactic Court to develop new legal frameworks that could fairly address the needs of all species. The old legal system assumed that all intelligent beings think and act the same way, she told the assembled judges during a training session. But we've learned that justice means different things to different species. True fairness requires understanding those differences. The new legal system used human emotional intelligence to help judges understand the cultural context of legal disputes. It had dramatically reduced the number of interspecies conflicts and had created new mechanisms for resolving disagreements peacefully. Dr. Kim So-ra's medical exchange program had produced breakthroughs that benefited every known form of life. By combining the healing knowledge of all species, they had developed treatments for diseases that had been considered incurable for thousands of years. Each species evolved different ways of maintaining health and treating illness, she said during a medical conference attended by healers from across the galaxy. When we combine all of these approaches, we can help anyone, regardless of their biology. Her work had not only saved countless lives, but had also created bonds of gratitude and cooperation between species that had previously been indifferent or hostile to each other. The most remarkable change was happening on Earth itself. The planet had become the unofficial capital of galactic civilization, not through conquest or political maneuvering, but because it had become the place where impossible things became possible. Captain Lee Tae-min received his daily reports from across human space and beyond. New colonies were being established with mixed populations of humans and aliens working together. Trade routes that had never existed were creating prosperity for species that had been isolated for millennia. Scientific discoveries were happening at an unprecedented rate as different forms of intelligence collaborated on research projects. "The irony is perfect," he said to Dr. Kim So-ra as they watched another ship full of alien students arrive at Unity Station. "They put us on trial for being dangerous to galactic civilization. Instead, we became the key to making galactic civilization actually work." The transformation was not complete, and there were still species that remained suspicious of humans and resistant to change. But even the most conservative aliens could not deny the results. The galaxy was more peaceful, more prosperous, and more united than it had ever been in recorded history. The title of their story had proven prophetic, in ways none of them had expected. Humanity had been attacked and assaulted by a galaxy that feared them. But instead of responding with violence or retreating in defeat, they had transformed both the attacks and the accusations into opportunities for growth and connection. The very traits that had made them seem dangerous, their emotional intelligence, their creativity, their adaptability, had become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. One where differences were celebrated rather than feared, where problems were solved through cooperation rather than conflict, and where the strength of the whole was greater than the sum of its parts. As Lee Tae-min looked out at the busy traffic around Unity Station, he realized that humanity had achieved something greater than survival or victory. They had shown the galaxy what it meant to be truly civilized.